We're there, and we're good to go. Ready? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our regular council meeting of Monday, April 27th, 2026. I will now call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Administrative and procedural issues, 2.1, the approval of the agenda for today. The recommended motion is that the agenda be approved as presented. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Go ahead, Councillor Lockhart.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to ask Council to direct staff to review the pole banner policy and bring a report to and recommendations to the May Committee of the Whole meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll make a note under 6.8, that will be in addition, 6.08, pole banner policy discussion. Okay, thank you very much. Any other changes or additions there, Mr. Herrick? Anyone else?
No, Your Worship.
We're good? Okay. Recommended motion is that the agenda be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Lee, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gould. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much. 2.2, I'll direct your attention to the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act as it's written here. 2.3, approval of minutes. The recommended motion is that the minutes of the March 25th regular council meeting and the minutes of the March 30th and April 8th, 2026 special council meetings be approved. Somebody like to make the motion? Moved by Councillor Fromm and seconded by Councillor Redmond. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much. 2.4, business arising. Mr. Herrick, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. Business arising is at pages 21 and 22 of Council's information package. You can see that most of the information complete. There's one outstanding item from the March 25th meeting, and that is scheduling second reading of the bylaw to end the public sewers bylaw. So that is outstanding, but is in progress. And on page 22, coming from the ongoing action list, we still have outstanding the designation of Swan Creek and the execution of the sale of lands at Amherst Point to Environment and Climate Change Canada, as well as the documentation for the sale of land on Lambs Hill Road. All other items are complete, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Herrick. Anyone have any questions on that report? Seeing none, we'll move along. 2.5, public hearings. We have 3 public hearings scheduled for today. The first one is 2.5.1, which is a public hearing for the demolition order for 7 Kimberly Branch Road, River Hibbert. Will be led by Director Cole on this one. I will first, before we do that, I'll call the public hearing to order and now allow Mr. Cole to speak. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is, as you mentioned, Your Worship, an application for a demolition order from Council pursuant to the provisions of Section 346, subsection 1 of the Municipal Government Act. The property is located at 7 Kimberly Branch Road in River Hibbert. It is abandoned. The structure has been abandoned for many years. There's severe structural damage, water, infiltration, animals inside the building. And notice of hearing was posted on the property on April 7th in accordance with the provisions of the MGA. There has been no contact with the registered owner. Notice of hearing was mailed to the address on file for the registered owner and also dropped off at the River Hibbert Post Office, where our staff is aware he lives in the area at a different location. And there's been no communication from him. Pictures of the property are attached at pages 25 and 26 of Council's package. Happy to take any questions, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. Are there any members of the public here that wish to speak on this today? Seeing none. The property owner is not present, I'm assuming, based on your comments, and obviously doesn't want to make any comments at this time. Any final comments from you?
No, Your Worship.
Any comments or final questions from council? Seeing none, I'll now close the public hearing. Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. Back to the next one.
Your Worship, now that the hearing is closed, there is a required motion to issue the demolition.
Flip the page here.
Page 24.
Yep. So the recommended motion is that council issue a demolition order for 7 Kimberly Branch Road, River Hibbert. Moved by Councillor Strong, seconded by Councillor Redmond. He was still moving his hand when you were moved first, so. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Another public hearing, I'll now call the public hearing to order on the demolition order for 25 Kimberly Road, River Hibbert. Go ahead, Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is an application for a demolition order in relation to 25 Kimberly Road in River Hibbert. Again, the property is abandoned and is falling down. There are a number of pictures that are quite informative attached to council's package at pages 29 and 30 of council's package. The property is abandoned and has been for many years. There has been contact with the owner of the property, Your Worship. A number of years ago, she contacted the municipal staff asking that the property be put up for tax sale. That hasn't happened yet. As of last November, when this file came to staff's attention, contact was made with the property owner, and she asked for an extension to demolish the building herself till April of 2026. No steps have been taken, and so we're requesting the order for demolition. Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Alan. Any members of the public here wish to speak on this one today? Seeing none. Property owner obviously is not present.
No, Your Worship.
And any final comments from you, Mr. Cole?
No, just that the recommended motion is in the council package at page 28, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from, or comments from council? Seeing none. Recommended motion is the council issue a demolition order for 25 Kimberly Road, River Hibbert. Somebody like to make, moved by Councilor Lee, seconded by Councilor Strong. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. 2.5.3, public hearing, bylaw to amend the LUB 26-05 to rezone PID 2515-7553 as 10260 Durham Street, Pugwash. Mr. Boone, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Presentation will be coming up on the screen.
Should be right here.
That's good. You're right. So good afternoon, members of council, the public. Just to start off, this is a file you've already seen at the first reading stage. And so the purpose of today is to allow the public an opportunity to speak on the file. And just to refresh you, this is the rezoning. The PID is presented at 10260 Durham Street in Pugwash from institutional to general commercial. I think the one comment I made at the outset of the first reading is this area is surrounded by general commercial zone, and it would have been one that, if we were doing the plan review or the new plan today, we probably would have had zoned this as general commercial at the outset. So I think it's just an important comment to make at the outset. So just some context, it's the old fire hall. Those that are familiar with the village know it is an existing building. No change to the building footprint, as we've talked about before. The lot is currently undersized, so the building exceeds permitted lot coverage, but to consider what we call a non-conforming structure. So there's no issues with it being there. The former fire hall is used as storage by the Village Commission in the past, before it was bought by the applicant and developer. Durham Street is the street most associated with commercial core of the village and leading to the downtown, Water Street. So we feel that putting this into commercial general zone makes the most sense, and the commercial use proposes a small commercial unit and a short-term rental on the upper and lower floors combined. So the proposed project, when we often ask the developers to give us some concepts of what they're proposing to do, all of this gets fleshed out at the development and building permit stage. So these are concepts that were in your package. I won't go through them in detail, but just to note that the plan would be to have a small commercial unit at the front of the building. Access into the residential unit would be independent, and the residential unit would have its own parking garage. So it wouldn't be parking outside. They would actually have interior parking. All of that would be developed in respect to the building and fire codes. Conceptually, what's been proposed, you can see the kind of before and after. It's obviously an opportunity to really enhance what that building does and presents on one of the main streets in the village. So parking compliance, a few little challenges here because the site is obviously tight when it comes to parking, but the policy actually allows a developer to have off-site parking, provided it's located within a certain distance from the property. The applicant did have some conversations with the Village Commission. There is a letter in your package that shows that if, and I use the word if, the site required overflow parking, that it could happen and would be permitted to be down near the village farmers market, as well as where the Visitor Information Center is looked to go in the old former library, which is owned and controlled by the commission. So the off-site shared parking is permitted in the zone, as mentioned. The number of parking spaces provided, the way the lot is set up, some of the area that's now paved, part of that is in the highway right-of-way, but it's not in the traveled surface of the highway. So we feel that there's adequate space there for the one parking spot that would go with the commercial unit. And as I mentioned earlier, that within the residential unit or a short-term rental unit, they would have independent parking that would be inside. So we feel quite confident, myself and Kira, on this project. And we will go to the next slide, Peter, please. So these are just some photos to give you some context for those that aren't familiar with the neighborhood. But this is immediately adjacent to the Co-op, NSLC, and now the Community Credit Union site. It's not far from Harrison's Building Supply. This is an area that's very much commercial. The convenience store is literally across the street. And we see some nice connection to this as being a main thoroughfare through the village as far as access for folks, and certainly walkable from the parking lot that we talked about that the Village Commission controls. Don't feel there's any change to the character in this neighborhood. In fact, this rezoning, as I mentioned earlier, is makes quite common sense as far as a planning approach. So this is just kind of give you, we always like to give you the zoning map that shows kind of the before and after. As you can see, the institutional zone kind of sticks out there, kind of like in an island in the commercial general. So this, for adjacencies and common practice and planning, is to try to create those land use adjacencies. So I think that's what we're going to accomplish here with making this change. So implications, community engagement. So the hearing today was duly advertised in accordance with the MGA. We provided the notice on the website. And we also had a notice placed in the paper, as well as a planning notice sign is on the property as well. From an environmental perspective, no concerns at this time. The project and the subject property is not located within our flood hazard zone. It's not within the coastal setbacks or watercourse shoreline buffer, so no concerns there. The property is subject and serviced by municipal sewer, so if there's any upgrades required at the permitting stage, they will have conversations for sewer and water with our public works team. And that all happens at the permitting stage. So financial implications, rezoning, you know, will change taxation of this as it becomes a commercial property, so that's a positive thing, but there's no direct costs to the municipality. And your worship, no motions required at this stage. It's public hearing, so happy to answer any questions. The applicant is here. Mr. Weir is here today in the audience, so, and he's more than willing to ask any questions. He didn't have a formal presentation required. So he's here to answer any questions that should council have or that the public might have had that I could not answer. So I'll leave it at that. Happy to answer any questions.
So there were any submissions or comments from members of the public on this?
There was not, your worship. I actually double-checked the planning email, and I confirmed with the deputy clerk that there was no submissions received, no phone calls on this matter. Thank you.
Mr. Weir, anything you'd like to say?
No, I think he's got everything covered.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, sir. Any final comments, Mr.
No, if there's any questions, happy to answer them.
Council, any questions, comments? Go ahead, Councilor O'Telly.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to comment that I'm very excited for this change on our Main Street. We have an opportunity in Pugwash for a very high a volume of traffic from tourism, and this is just going to make it one bit better, and I'm really happy to see the developments like this happening in my community. So thank you, Mr. Weir.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I will echo those. Oh, go ahead, Councilor Lee.
Your worship, just a quick comment. Yes, I was super impressed with the plans and the sharing. It having been in Pugwash and traveled that road, I did notice that building and I did want to share. Beautiful plan. Good work to everyone involved. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Certainly looking forward to the finished project. It's a great looking plan, so. I'll now close the public hearing. I guess we're done with that one. Thank you very much, Mr. Boone. No motion required on that at the moment. Strategic priorities issues, there are none for today. Same goes for major organizational items. Organizational policy and bylaw items, 5.1, second reading of the bylaw to amend the LUB 26-03 to rezone a portion of PID 2506-7778, 530 John Black Road, East Amherst. Mr. Boone.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just got to change gears here, bear with me. As you know, I'm usually quite brief in my comments, so I want to make sure I keep on track here, so. Your Worship, this is an application, members of council will note that has already been through first reading and the public hearing. So this is a chance just to do a briefing on the project. What is in your package, and I want to highlight, and then we'll talk to it when we bring up the zoning map, is that we have adjusted the zoning map to be a little bit more accurate. It's always been conceptually the same. We just have refined the map itself that's attached to the bylaw. So I did mention that at the public hearing, and it is talked about in your report, just to make sure that it wasn't so much as a change. It was just a bit of an oversight to kind of create more detail in this final package. So again, conceptually, I think everyone knows the site from the conversations that were held before and how it was presented at the public hearing. So this is a change only to a portion of the PID. So make that clear, is that the front portion will still remain the country residential zone. And I know that there was the current use in and around this site on the back portion. There is a wind energy project. One of the 2 wind turbines is on this site, and the proposed use is a commercial solar project, as we've talked about before. We kept very clear in our discussions, and Mitch with Natural Forces Solar is here today, but we made it very clear in our conversations, and what I've heard from yourself, Your Worship, is that keeping that buffer on the tree line was very important, and the company's been more than cooperative in taking that into account. So this is the enhanced, change on the zoning map. So the zoning boundary change, we've gone a little bit more detailed to the right to show what the mappings included at the second reading is a little clearer in how we're doing that, and the change that's very specific is attached to the bylaw. So I just wanted to give you a highlight on this slight differences and change in that accuracy of getting that zoning line very accurate so we can put it into the mapping. So just wanted to highlight that one more time. The proposed development, since the original development was proposed, there is some slight adjustments to the site plan, but again, those are the details we get to at the development permit stage, and if they require any building permits, we get a bit more granular. What this site plan clearly shows is that the green you can see to the left sketch, that's the buffer, and that's how they're proposing to lay out the site plan. So it respects those tree lines. So some of the developments moved a little closer to the sideline if you're looking in from the street, a little bit more to the left, but that all respects the buffer that's required. A couple of things that impact this land, or there are some Nova Scotia Power easements as well. So one of those easements actually requires the buffer to be a little bit deeper on that side. I think one thing we noted in the public hearing is that the setbacks from that wetland or the water source there is been respected throughout the whole project. And this is a very good project in respect to it's part of the Nova Scotia Community Solar Project, so there will be potential homeowners and or businesses that can take advantage of reduced rates on their power bills. So again, just to zoom in on the site plan, I've already talked to it. I don't want to say much more, but just a chance that if the public was here, I'd have a good document to reference. Should there be any questions, we can come back to that. And some proposed text amendments. So one of the things we have heard on a couple of conversations on planning documents is vegetation and vegetative buffers. We were talking about that quite a bit in our plan review, as council is aware. So a couple of things that have changed here. Solar collector systems, we're now changing this wording to say if you're going to develop a solar system or solar collector system, you're required to have the 10-meter vegetative buffer, and we've qualified that, Your Worship, when I mentioned this at the public hearing, from the boundary line of any residential development or land intended for residential development. So that was just to clarify that, and we did that at the public hearing as well. And we've defined vegetative buffer, just to clarify a little bit in the definitions in 14. I'm not going to read the whole definition, is in your package, but just wanted you to be aware of it. So again, just zooming in, these are the zoning changes that you will see attached to the actual bylaw. So we've just zoomed in a little bit more from what it's going to look like to what it currently looks like. Again, just to reinforce, it's just a summary of the proposal today, but it's also only a portion of the PID that is changing. So the country residential will remain at the front portion of this lot. So in summary, the community engagement was all done at the public hearing stage, and we followed through all that. We have had no other contact since the public hearing. And from an environmental perspective, water and sewer services are not required for the project at this time. There will be some tree clearing that happens, but that's going to maintain the buffer as now required in these proposed amendments should council go forward with the rezoning. And the setbacks from the water course and the wetlands that I've already mentioned will be maintained as per the bylaw. Financial implications, just quickly, it's a little different than solar versus wind farms, but there is a implication here that PVSC that does the assessments, they will change this land from resource or agricultural land to commercial, so it will change the assessment. And some of the materials or the supports that go on the site aren't necessarily assessed and given value, but the land value will change. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's a potential for subscribers to be able to come into the program, which is positive for both business and residents once the developer has their final agreement in place with the program. So our recommendation is before you, Your Worship. Happy to answer any questions on this. And at this point, there's no more public input, but I've mentioned we've had no additional comments provided.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boones. Anyone have? I guess we'll go with the motion first and then move on from there. Recommended motion is that council approve second reading of the bylaw to amend the land use bylaw 26-03 to rezone a portion of PID 2506-7778-530 John Black Road, East Amherst, from country residential zone to the rural resource zone, and to amend section 5.3 of the LUB to add policy 5.3.6 and add vegetative buffer as a definition under section 14 of the LUB. If someone would like to make that. Moved by Councillor Hotelling and seconded by Deputy Mayor Gould. Sure, we're going to have comments here in 1 second, my friend. Yep. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Okay. Yep. Excellent, thank you. Any comments from council? Is this, I have a couple of questions just to make sure. The vegetative buffer
Correct.
is 10 meters,
Yes.
except for at the back towards the wetland, which is 20. So, two things. Is this our first go around with working with vegetative buffers?
Yeah, Your Worship, directly back to you. It is our first time defining it in the bylaw to make it very specific, but we're very project specific when it comes to solar and having the requirement for 10 meter. What the definition is doing is 10 meters is specific to solar, and the definition of vegetative buffers have it in their definition, so we clearly know what that is. So there's an existing buffer of natural vegetation, it has to remain. So that's the key in the definition. The buffer itself, it could be, if you were doing a new project and it was all, say, farm field or blueberry field, and there was no existing tree line, then you just have to establish that buffer, and that might mean new plantings to get that to that level.
So potentially at some future point with this project, or not perhaps this one, but other projects, the buffer would get wider depending on the necessity of it, or is it always going to be 10?
Well, when it comes to solar, it will be 10. How it's defined is in the definitions. If you find during the plan review, if you're thinking you're seeing a larger buffer, but the vegetative buffer could be different in different zones or for different uses. So use the example, it was very public when we had the conversations around golf courses and or setbacks from rivers or lakes. We have our established setbacks from water courses, rivers, like shoreline, that vary depending on the zone and the type of water course. But the buffer in this case, when it comes to solar, will be 10. Should council wish to have a larger buffer in the future from whether it's solar, wind, or any, maybe an industrial development, we had that conversation with the West Amherst project, creating that buffer along between residential uses and rural industrial uses. So it does vary, and without confusing it too much, you can have different buffers and different setbacks, or sorry, buffers the dimensions can change.
Yeah,
makes sense.
my thought is that, at 10 meters, right now, that it certainly seems sufficient. But what happens when, you know, you take a piece of woodland and you cut the center out of it and leave a row of trees on the front and on the back, and all of those trees blow down? So then we're sitting there going, okay, should we have made the buffer wider to protect the trees or not? We don't know. All I'm saying is that if this was to happen in this situation, after we get the thing built, for example, then would there be some consideration in the future to widen that buffer, or is this buffer thing cast in stone?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah, certainly, back to you, your worship, and council and the public, it would be one that we'd have to look at almost development or use specific. There is always a risk that when you do development and do some land clearing to allow the project to be constructed, that you will disturb vegetation that's there. So the request and the definition and the requirement is to maintain the existing vegetation that's there. Should it be impacted, then they still have to provide the green buffer, and then that's why the definition's there. So it could require some replanting, but unfortunately, trees that are there mature now can take 30 to 40 years to get back to where they are. So we would ask the developer to consider that if they lose some of the vegetative buffer.
And then in the vegetative part of it, it says that there is to be no cutting.
Correct. If it's existing,
Yep.
you have to maintain the buffer.
So does that also mean that, that the company cannot go in there and clean up?
Doesn't stop them from doing
Okay,
silviculture and cleaning it, because
okay,
sometimes
that
if
was
you
my
remove that, it does two things. It helps ensure that the existing vegetation that's healthy stays healthy, and it also reduces fire risk.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Seeing none, call for the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Boone. 5.2, remuneration policy for members of council 20-03 amended. Mr. McCracken will lead us through this one.
Thank you, Worship. Draw your attention to page 65 of the package. As discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting, recently, municipality currently has a remuneration policy for members of council. As part of the annual budgeting process, a salary review was conducted of similar municipal councils throughout Nova Scotia. Subsequently, council approved a change in the remuneration to align with the average council member salaries across that sample. There's a data table in your package on page 65 that shows the calculations that we use to budget for 2026-27 salaries. And there's three highlighted sections of note in the amended policy. Section 2, which contains the new salaries for 26-27. Section 3 recommends that we use CPI as the change in salaries annually. And Section 5 outlines how often remuneration for council will be reviewed, and we're recommending that it's done in conjunction with employee salary reviews in the future. And there's a recommended motion in your package. Happy to take any questions that council may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCracken. The recommended motion is that council approve the amended remuneration policy for members of council 20-03. If someone moved by Councillor Redmond, seconded by Councillor O'Telling. Any comments or discussion on this matter from members of council? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. McCracken. 5.3, who's getting this one? You? Procurement policy 17-05 amendment, and we'll turn it over to the CAO. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. Amy Hurdle is the Director of Finance, who is the author of both this item and the next one, and she's on vacation, so I'm going to stand in for her. Both the procurement policy and the expenditures policy were reviewed recently by staff. They hadn't been reviewed in a number of years, 10 or 15, in terms of a comprehensive review, and from that review there are just a few changes, mostly to purchasing thresholds. But through the review, we ensured that the information in the policy was accurate and appropriately outlined our current purchasing practices, because they do evolve over time with respect to amounts and for processes. We've updated the flow of the policy for better readability and understanding. and increase the purchasing limits for directors from $15,000 to $20,000, simply just reflecting the inflationary increases that we've experienced and everyone has experienced. As well, council by resolution a few years ago increased the expenditure or the procurement award authority to the Office of CAO to $250,000 for items that had been budgeted by council, and so now that is now reflected in this policy accurately. Happy to answer any questions that council may have. These are largely housekeeping changes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harrod. Recommended motion is that council approve the amended procurement policy 17-05. Moved by Council Lee, seconded by Council McCormick. Any comments or discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much. 5.4, expenditures policy 1503 amendment. Mr. Harrod, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. The expenditures policy, as you noted earlier, is a complementary policy to the procurement policy and establishes the expenditure authorities of various staff members in their roles. And similar to the review of the procurement policy, the review was done to make sure that it reflected current thresholds and aligned with the procurement policy. The changes to the current policy were, or the proposed changes, I should say, were to ensure that the information in the policy was accurate and that it appropriately outlined our current practices, to update the language and the flow for better readability and understanding, and to increase the purchasing limits for directors from $15,000 to $20,000, and to confirm and clarify the authority of the CAO in the expenditure process. And again, these are largely housekeeping, so I'm happy to answer any questions that council might have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harrod. The recommended motion is that council approve the amended expenditures policy 15-03, moved by Councilor Lockhart, seconded by Councilor Strong. Any comments, conversation on this? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Harrod. 6.1, variance appeal. Oh, sorry, business issues is a new category. I forgot to mention that, so we're moving on. 6.1, variance appeal for PID 25120783. Mr. Boone will lead us through this. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Worship. Information is in your package. This is a project or an application that staff have been dealing with for quite some time. I know there's been some information that was shared in confidence with council with a legal opinion on this matter. Staff originally had this application back in July of last summer. Several conversations with the owner and the representative of the owner on the request. They made an application or an appeal on a variance that was denied, and based on our review of the project internally, we didn't feel it was an actual variance application. They were asking for an amendment to the bylaw, and that was then supported in two situations. One with the legal advice that was discussed with council in confidence, which is permitted, and secondly, it actually went to the Nova Scotia Regulatory and Appeals Board, and we had a decision made at that point that said what they were looking for was not a variance in the development permit denial. It was what they were looking for was a change to the bylaw. So one thing I've noted in the report is last spring, council spent a significant amount of time looking at undersized lots and shoreline buffers and all of that good information. Staff spent a significant amount of time developing that to give council good advice, and what the applicant was looking for is a change to what can happen within that shoreline buffer, and staff weren't prepared to support that, could not do a variance based on the MGA, and so at this point, I know the recommendations before you. I will say, Your Worship, council is very firm on even considering looking at amendments that would permit this, because this is a situation where we're looking at further encroachments in the shoreline buffer versus a variance on a setback or any kind of other items that we would have to look at in respect to this matter. And as I mentioned already, not to be repetitive, but I think it's important to know that this council spent a significant amount of time looking at undersized lots, and those changes that were made by council has opened up opportunities for folks to do more with their undersized lots. One thing that is in your package, which is not being shown on the screen, but I could have done that, is that the location of this building in our decisions, you know, if we could have done something here, it'd be very difficult to do it because the actual deck is somewhere between 3 and 4 meters from the top of the bank, which is significantly shorter than the 30.5 meters that would be required, or 20 meters that would be required if you had shoreline stabilization in place. So happy to answer any questions. The recommendations before you, and it's not very often I talk this boldly about these applications or these issues, but I think it's important to know that there's some alternatives in the package, but staff's recommendation is the one before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boone. The recommended motion is that council dismiss without a hearing the request for a variance appeal for PID 25120783, 19 Memory Lane, Port Howe. Moved by Councilor McCormick, seconded by Councilor O'Telling. Any comments or questions on this? Go ahead, sir. Deputy Mayor Gould.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just, what's an armored bank?
Sorry, Your Worship, back to Deputy Mayor, using armored rock.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yep,
it's
and-
shoreline stabilization probably would have been a better use of the word, but
And
it's stabilization.
Slope top is just,
It's just a
regular-
slope leading back down to the shoreline. So often, Your Worship, as Deputy Mayor knows, sometimes shoreline stabilization can top a bank and have a very gentle back to the toe of that slope, or it can be built where it's almost straight down. Just depends on how the structure's built.
yep, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much. 6.2, Cumberland Regional Emergency Management Plan. Mr. Cole, back to the hot seat.
Thank you, Your Worship. The recommended motion is that council approve the Cumberland Regional Emergency Management Plan that is attached to council's package at page 134. The RFD is at page 132. We reviewed this at the recent Committee of the Whole meeting, Your Worship. And this is an agreement that is intended to be adopted by the three entities that form the Cumberland Regional Emergency Management Organization, which is the Town of Amherst, the Town of Oxford, and our municipality. I can advise council that last Wednesday, the Town of Oxford approved the plan at their council meeting, and my understanding is that Amherst is approving it tonight at their meeting. The plan goes through the operation of the emergency management organization, the roles and responsibilities of the CAO as the incident commander, the command staff, the general staff, and elected officials. Deals with when the emergency management or the emergency coordination center opens, the levels of activation, and all of those issues. So it's the overreaching document that deals with the administration of the emergency management organization and the ECC. Happy to take any questions, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. The recommended motion is that council approve the Cumberland Regional Emergency Management Plan. Moved by Councilor Lee, seconded by Councilor O'Telling. Any questions or comments on this from anyone? Seeing none, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. 6.3, contract awarded for Parsboro and Spring Hill paving. Director Wallace will lead us through this one. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. Upon council approving the 26-27 capital budget, staff issued a tender for the approved scope for the Parsboro and Spring Hill capital paving sidewalk improvements. We received 3 bids for that tender. The low bid was from Chapman's Brothers. Found the bid to be compliant, and recommendations in your package, Your Worship.
That was fast. It was fast. It was good. It was really very well done, Justin. Very well done. Recommended motion is the council approve the recommendation to award T-MCC-2601 paving of municipal streets, Parsboro and Spring Hill Communities, Part A, Part B, and Part C, contingent on provincial funding approval, to Chapman Brothers Construction for a value of $1,841,976.59, which includes non-recoverable HST. Mr. Harret. Okay, you were looking at me like, moved by Counselor McCormick, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gould. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just thought, given the interest every year in paving and sidewalks and that sort of thing, that we just take 30 seconds and actually read the segments that are being paved and
Works for me.
talk about the funding, if that's all right. So in Spring Hill, it's paving the Pine Street from Lisgar to Spruce, Elgin Street from Queen to Spruce, Elgin Street from Spruce to King, King from Lisgar to Pine, Fir from Elgin to Junction, Pleasant Street Extension from Gilroy to the end of that street. Lisgar to Queen, NBL is northbound lane, thank you. McGee from Athol to Lagoon, and we're getting 50-cent dollars from the provincial government on that one, and McFarland from McGee to the end. In Parsboro, it's Skidmore from Prince Street and School Street from Stanley to Queen, Skidmore from Two Islands to the corner, and Pier Road from Two Islands to Skidmore. And in Spring Hill sidewalks, McDougall from Maine to McGee, and McGee from Harret to Civic 128 on McGee Street. And in Parsboro, sidewalks on Western Avenue from Sydney to Queen, and on Main Street from Jacobs Lane to Sargents. So there's a lot of work there. We talk just a little bit about the funding, because this is an important topic as well. We've got lots of interest in this, and in Parsboro, streets and paving, there's $308,000 worth of gas tax. In Parsboro sidewalk upgrades, $142,000 worth of gas tax. In Spring Hill, gas tax $700,000 for paving. Taking on new long-term debt of $476,000 that will be paid for from the Spring Hill area rate. There's grants from the provincial government for $125,000 for the portion of McGee Street from Lagoon Road to Athol Road. And in Spring Hill, the sidewalk upgrades are coming from the Spring Hill area rate reserve, $194,000, and debt related to that project is $174,000. And again, that will be paid for over a 10-year period from the Spring Hill proceeds of the Spring Hill area rate. Point being that all of that work is being done using gas tax, debt that's being paid for from one of the area rates or grants. Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hurd. Anyone else have any comments or things? Deputy Mayor Gould, go ahead.
Thank you, Richard. I just want to thank our CAO for explaining that, because that's important, and it's a question that we always get, because it's everybody thinks it's regular tax money that goes into that, but that's gas tax and area rates. So thank you for explaining that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Walcross. 6.4, appointment to Cliffs of Fundy Geopark Board. Mr. McCracken, you're on this one.
Thank you, Your Worship. We received correspondence from Mayor Christine Blair, who's the chair of the Cliffs of Fundy Geoparks Society Board, asking for council to consider appointing a representative to fill a vacancy. We normally have two councillors sit on the board. Councillor Strong is currently on the board, and we're asking for another member of council to fill the vacancy. Of course, representation on the board provides a broader perspective and enhanced decision-making, ensures that our priorities are reflected in discussions and decisions that the board make. And there's a recommended motion in your package based on a previous discussion of council.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCracken. The recommended motion is that council approve the appointment of Councillor Scott Lockhart to the Cliffs of Fundy Geopark Board. If someone would like to make that motion. Moved by Deputy Mayor Gould and seconded by Councillor Revlin.
Can you have four motions?
And a lot of people wanted to make that motion and seconded it. I can say that. So any comment or discussion on this from anyone in the council? I was surprised the deputy mayor doesn't want to say something. It's shocking, actually. So, thank you, Scott, for stepping up. I'll leave it at that. We appreciate your effort. So, and good luck. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, the motion is carried. It's too late to back out now. 6.5, appointments to East Cumberland Lodge. Mr. McCracken, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Correspondence was received requesting that council ratify 2 appointments to the board of the Cumberland Senior Care Corporation, otherwise known as East Cumberland Lodge. The corporation requires ratification of citizen members by municipal council to their board, and 2 names have been suggested, Jill Black and Holly Bond, and as email outlined from the corporation, as detailed in the bylaws of the corporation, there must be at least 3 citizens of the municipality appointed to the board of directors. When vacancies arise, we must fill them. And I know at the previous meeting, Councillor Hoteling gave a brief bio on both of the nominees, so I'll leave it to the recommended motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCracken. The recommended motion is that council ratify the appointments of Joe Black and Holly Bond to the board of the Cumberland Senior Care Corporation. If somebody would like to make the motion. Moved by Councillor Hoteling, seconded by Councillor Strong. Any comments? Go ahead, Councillor Hoteling.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'll just repeat those bios again, just for
Sure, absolutely.
the public. So Holly Bond founded Bulldog Interactive Fitness in 2005 and later launched Bullfrog Power in Atlantic Canada, helping to reduce carbon emissions through renewable energy. She went on to lead initiatives at Halifax Partnership and The Rounds, and founded Facet by Royer Thompson in 2022. And has earned national recognition while contributing through board services and mentorship. And Jill Black is a very strong community champion who has been engaged with our Village of Pugwash through the Community Health Board and the Communities in Bloom, as well as other groups over the years. And she has a professional background and has close ties to East Cumberland Lodge and to her community.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hoteling. Anyone else? I'll just chime in there a little bit and say thank you very much to both those individuals for volunteering for this important board. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. 6.6, Deputy CAO position. Mr. McCracken, you're on the floor again.
Thank you, Your Worship.
One more, you'll catch up with Mr. Boone, I think.
With the, so draw your attention to page 167 of the package. We're asking, with the pending retirement of our CAO, Greg Harrett, council recently appointed myself as the CAO effective October 1st.
I was going to say CAO.
Mr. Harrett will be staying on staff as an advisory capacity until the end of the year, as you know. And now we'll be recruiting for a replacement for my current position, Deputy CAO. Mr. Harrod's retirement was anticipated, and the budget reflected this with some $50,000 included in the budget for some overlap. There'll be a period of time where he's still employed, but I will be taking over the reins, so to speak, October 1st. However, when that was before my appointment and had not been confirmed, so the amount was included to allow for that, but an additional amount we're asking from council is to allow for some overlap for a new deputy CAO to be hired. So it's proposed that council authorize an additional $50,000 due to the natural ebb and flow of filled positions and staff positions and temporary vacancies and so forth. We're asking for these funds, but we may not need them, but we certainly want a budget for them. And we're asking that they be budgeted and coming out of operating reserves. There's a table on the back page explaining on page 168 the financial implications that essentially, if you follow the bolded line on the bottom right-hand corner is what our CAO calculated as being the $45,140 required for additional costs for that transition. There's a couple of alternatives to that, one being obviously to allow for that $50,000 from operating reserve. This will allow for, seamless transition, capacity, and some additional projects to be completed as well. And if the proposed motion is defeated, of course, we do not hire deputy CEO until October. And this would save a little bit of money, but creates no additional capacity for projects in transition time. So happy to take any questions on this, and there's a recommended motion in your package, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCracken. The recommended motion is that council approve the recommendation to authorize the withdrawal of up to $50,000 from the operating reserve to fund the transitional costs of hiring the deputy CAO. Somebody like to make that motion? Moved by Councillor Lee, seconded by Councillor Redmond. Any comments or discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. McCracken. 6.7, River Hibbert Village Rate. Mr. Herron.
Thank you, Your Worship. As council and guessing members of the public will recall, due to concerns about governance and transparency related to the operations of the River Hibbert Village Commission, council had previously given notice that it was considering discontinuing its long-standing practice of billing and collecting the village rate, as is its authority to do so under the Municipal Government Act. While there remain some concerns with respect to the operation of the Village Commission, particularly around governance and transparency, and there have also been, as a result of this, identifying this issue, productive and respectful conversations with both the, I shouldn't say both, at the same time, with the River Hibbert Joggins Area Development Association and the River Hibbert Village Commission. Lots of good conversation, recognition that things needed to change and things needed to improve, and a willingness to work together to hopefully improve that over time. To the point where both organizations have written letters to council, and I won't read the whole letter, but just to quote a couple of key passages from each of them, and one from the River Hibbert Joggins and Area Development Association from the chair, Reg Melanson, who's with us this afternoon, that, you know, expressing their hope that the county would show their support and trust in the village, and to facilitate working, the two organizations working together to make positive change, to win back community support in the area. So the Development Association, supportive of council continuing, at least for the time being, to bill and collect that area rate. As well, and as importantly, a letter from the River Hibbert Village Commission recognizing some of the, perhaps we'll call them deficiencies that are required, or addressing those deficiencies required to strengthen public trust and ensuring effective administration. The commission is undertaking, they're undertaking to us and to the public, to council and to the public, to review and update their bylaws, to continue training and development for village commissioners, and develop a village commission website. So those are all, we think, positive developments along the path to improved transparency and hopefully improved governance. So with those, both of those letters and with the conversation, the proposed motion, or the issue before council, is to decide whether to now bill and collect the area, or the village rate. And here we go, put the right piece of paper in front of me, here we go. And so the motion to do that, because that motion was left from the budget process with this other process on the go. The recommended motion is that the following village rate for the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2027 for River Hibbert be billed and collected at the same time in the same manner as municipal taxes. The River Hibbert Village Commission residential resource, 10 cents per $100 of assessment, and commercial, $10 per $100 of assessment. And further, that staff prepare a status report on the village's progress on the commitments set out in the village's letter to the municipality. And further, that the municipality write to the Minister of Municipal Affairs outlining their concerns with respect to governance and transparency at the Village Commission. And further, that we write to, that council, the municipality write to the Village Commission requesting contact information for the village clerk and an ongoing awareness and notice of meetings of the Village Commission. Rather convoluted motion, Your Worship, but there you have it.
I think it says it all, though, so I'm good with it, so. Someone be so kind as to make the motion. Moved by Counselor Strong, seconded by Counselor Lee. Any comments or discussion on this, folks? Counselor Lee, go ahead.
Your worship, thank you. I just wanted first to say thank you to everybody, respecting that there was a lot of time and there was a lot of conversation, and I thank everyone for taking the time for that. I also want to share, there's going to be a lot of eyes on this because it's generated a lot of conversation in a lot of areas, so hoping for a positive outcome, and looking forward to attending some meetings and supporting them in the direction that they need to go in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Counselor Lee, and I will echo those comments too. Looking forward to some positive results as a final analysis of this whole thing, so. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much. 6.8, pole banner policy. Counselor Lockhart, you have, is we gonna let him
Yes.
go on this, or?
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
We had a little, quite a bit of feedback from the community. They're not very happy with the policy that we had put forward. And after talking with one of the committee members at length on Friday, I said I would bring it to council to ask. I have a motion here to look at the policy to see if we can find something that would suit everybody. The veterans are very near and dear to my heart, and I think we should do whatever we can do to accommodate them in this manner. So my motion is that council direct staff to review the pole banner policy and bring a report with recommendations to the May committee of the whole meeting.
Thank you very much, Counselor Lockhart. If someone would like to second that motion. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Gould. Okay. Any more questions or conversations from council about this? Very good. Then we'll direct staff to go. Counselor Redmond, go ahead.
That poll policy, is that for the whole of Cumberland, or is it just for Spring Hill?
Mr. Hart.
It is for Spring Hill and Parsboro because those are the two areas where the municipality owns the streets and has input in terms of, you know, has public works staff willing to or available to do that work, and where a mechanism exists to recover those costs through the area rate. In every other, as you know, Councillor, in every other area, there's no area rate to cover those costs, and that's why it's specific to those.
Councilor Telling, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to clarify before we ask staff to do more work, what are the issues with the current updated policy?
Councilor Lockhart, go ahead.
Yes. Am I on? Yeah. So right now, the policy is at 140. The committee is quite active. They actually have 142 that they put up last year. There have people actually looking to buy more. Speaking with the committee, I know unended is a lot, which that, not looking for that. They're looking for another 30 to 40 more is what they're looking for. And that might not happen this year, but down the road, so we don't have to keep revisiting this. My suggestion would be, this is a suggestion that they could look at, is maybe we look at some alternate streets, work with the committee on some streets, maybe North Street, which is also a main road into Spring Hill, the trucking route, you know, and see how many, I mean, the poles, we don't own the poles. So there is some issues with that, I do understand, but that's what it is right now. Thank you.
Yeah, over 200. So, okay. Thank you very much. Councilor Telling, anything else? No? Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much, Councilor Lockhart. 7.1, information items, councilor recognition. 7.11, Councilor Telling, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to recognize Jay and Pradeep with Fusions Bistro today. They began their small business in Pugwash at the Farmers Market and have recently opened Fusions Bistro on Durham Street, another point on Main Street that is a little bustling and welcoming cafe. They are particularly great community members. They support local community events and meals in terms of just their volunteer time and support in food and things that we need for those events. They also held a free pancake breakfast over the Easter weekend after the village of Pugwash had their Easter egg hunt. So all the children were able to go have pancakes and look at all their treats that they found and have a warm place to gather. And they sold out of pancakes, which was great. So they also support people coming out of the hospital when they are just getting back home and need just a warm meal. So it's really wonderful the things that they're doing. And they also donate to the Autumn House in Amherst. And I just wanted to welcome them to the community and share how many wonderful things they're doing. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Delling. I'll make sure to stop in next time I'm in Pugwash. 7.12, Councilor Lockhart, go ahead.
Yes, Your Worship. I'd like to wish and recognize Weldon Smith of Spring Hill on celebrating his 80th birthday. And I didn't know about this yesterday, but Elsie Braley of Spring Hill celebrated her 99th birthday this weekend. So very much looking forward to next year, giving her a certificate for her 100th birthday.
So she'll get one back-to-back years, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Thank you.
7.13, Councilor Strong, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I'd like to recognize Shirley Morris. Shirley has lived most of her entire life in the Advocate area. She has run the Advocate Area Food Bank from her home for over 25 years, collected, distributed with kindness, caring, and compassion, and most of all, confidentiality for those in our community. And it's a large area. It's not just Advocate itself, it's the surrounding communities. So I'd just like to recognize her for all of her efforts over the years. And another recognition is for Lorna Fletcher. She is also a very, very dedicated community member who has worked behind the scenes at a lot of the community events of the Advocate District Development Association as a volunteer. The community luncheons, which are no longer, but did a lot of work and behind the scenes as all us good volunteers do. As she notably, though, has canvassed for the Advocate Cemetery Association for probably 30 years to keep the area clean and welcoming for family visiting their loved ones.
Thank you very much, Councilor Strong. Talked with a whole bunch of fine Cumberland County people here this afternoon. That's great. So, a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Gould. We are now adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone, for your efforts this afternoon.